Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. This is Wind Waker Unflooded, a 3D modeling fan art project where we are bringing the world of Hyrule to life as you've never seen it before, within the world and art style of The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. As you know, everyone who's played The Wind Waker knows that the islands of the Great Sea are actually the mountaintops of Hyrule, but we never really get to explore Hyrule in the game. All we see is a small portion of it around Hyrule Castle. And now it's time to explore this world that we never got to explore, using the power of 3D modeling, bringing that world to life. I know so many of us Zelda fans are explorers at heart, and when we were tempted with Hyrule and the Wind Waker, we wanted to explore that whole world. So that's where this project comes from. This is Wind Waker Unflooded. Come one, come all. That's the spiel. Excuse me, I haven't done a voiceover in a while. But yeah. I mean, welcome everyone. I'm excited about this video. This video is the result of fan engagement and talking with the community, with y'all about y'all's ideas. And just in case you ever doubt that, just to go ahead and say, leave a comment down below if you have any feedback, ideas about the project, because that's really what informs my next video more than anything else, is going to the comments, seeing what y'all have to say, seeing what y'all are interested in, seeing what y'all's suggestions are. So feel free to comment down below y'all's ideas for Wind Waker Unflooded, what you want to see me work on next in the world, suggestions you have based on other locations you want to see me work on, or different things, whether it's not even something that was previously in Hyrule in other games, but something that's just like, oh, this just makes sense within this world. Could just comment down below any of your suggestions. I'm excited to get to them. But today we are working on Needle Rock Isle and working on the mountain below Needle Rock Isle, because of course all the islands of the Great Sea are the mountaintops of Hyrule. So let's work on the mountain and let's go inside the mountain. This was a really interesting just kind of little project for me, just to kind of figure out these caves, because I'm not doing many caves, and to be clear, like most of this project, especially at this point in it, I'm focusing on the exterior of the overworld. I'm not doing interiors of buildings. I'm not doing caves. I'm focusing on what's on the outside, unless unless the inside of a building or a cave, unless that's something that would inform the outside. That's kind of the thing. Like I know there's people that have advised me different ways to approach this project, that I should be doing like all the terrain all at once and then do the details. I should do all the exteriors before I do any interiors. That I should approach in that way. But the issue is just that sometimes, even though like I think it makes sense to do all of the overworld, all the exteriors at once, do everything broad, do all the terrain at once before I get specific. The issue is just that like everything is recursive, and creatively, like working on the interiors, like that can affect the way I do the exterior. So I mean, and this is like this cave is a big location, and it is something that it impacts the storytelling of the world, because ultimately this is a storytelling project. So whatever makes the most sense to inform the other parts of the process, that's how I'm going to do my modeling. It's just I'm going to work on whatever has the biggest effect in the world building and the storytelling of the world, and it's going to affect the rest of my process moving forward with the world. Anyway, with all that out of the way, we're working on an oil reserve. This is a cave where you see I'm sure you can see me working on I'm working on just how different paths kind of within the cave, working on this there's this kind of catwalk where an oil not oil rig, what do you call it, like an oil pump, like an old-fashioned oil pump, is going to be sitting on there, pumping out this oil from this lake of oil below. I think it's going to be a really moody location, and it's cool to kind of do something that's a little more sealed off, and you can kind of have this how do I put it, like looking around this cave that I've created and seeing the way that these paths kind of move around. It's kind of nice to have something that is like I can work on the terrain and it's self-contained. And I think that like kind of it kind of guides you through the room in that way, right? And it kind of I can create more interesting shapes, because it's like I don't have to think about, well, how does this connect to a mountain next to it. I can just kind of create this self-contained room. And it was interesting to kind of figure out like what textures I wanted to use. I'm using like the sand texture from that was pulled, of course, from like the sand under Ganon's tower in the final boss fight of the Wind Waker, from that desert model. And then I'm using like the walls are from the coral reefs. because I thought, well, this is a place where it's been affected by erosion, by flow of liquid. It makes sense to kind of have this, um, it's been hollowed out by liquid, um, or mined even, but I think ultimately, just like with the flow of liquid in mind, I wanted to use the reef texture, to kind of suggest a certain kind of smoothness to the wall. It's been, carved out in a certain way by erosion. And I just thought that would be just kind of an interesting combination. Because this mountain is basically, it's the intersection, it's part of this large intersection between the desert and the main grasslands of Hyrule. And so it's kind of a transitionary point. And so just with that in mind, just having these two textures come together that weren't previously together, I think that's just an interesting kind of side effect of that transition point. And I think it looks good. Like, I think the colors of those two textures mesh well, and bringing it all together, with the wood. Like, I like the color style of this model. But anyway, I think it's time for a short message. So I will talk to all of you again after the break. See you then.
If you want to be able to support me as a creator, there are several ways that you can make possible the creation of everything that I do. Become a Patreon member. I post all kinds of exclusive content that you can only see first on Patreon. Stuff like behind-the-scenes content for my filmmaking projects, whether that's in-progress scripts, storyboards, rough cuts, anything for my newest films that aren't posted anywhere else besides Patreon. So become a member. There's a whole range of prices, and you can support me even in small ways. That's super meaningful. Supporting me on Patreon too gets you in the credits list of any film that I release while you're a member. And like I said, even a little goes a long way. You can also collaborate with me now through Fiverr. I offer a range of services that could help bring your project to life. And if you've heard any music in the background of this video, that was my music. So feel free to look me up on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to music. Type in Joe Kendrick. That's JoeKendrick. Look up Joe Kendrick on Spotify. Supporting me is super meaningful. I don't make any ad revenue on Wind Waker Unflooded. If you see an ad on the videos, because YouTube is putting ads on their videos, I'm not making any ad revenue from this project. It's completely not monetized for me. So if you want to be able to support me as a creator, any way that you can do that means a lot, and it goes towards the creation of all that I do. So thank you to everyone who's supported me along the way.
And we're back. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to Wind Waker Unflooded. It is always great to have y'all. I mean that. It's always great to have you. In case you haven't heard me say it, I know we're doing a fan project here. We're doing a 3D modeling project. This channel is my channel, and it's mainly about this art project. But really, I mean it. What really something I value about this project is that we're creating our own pocket of the Zelda community. We can check back in and talk about Wind Waker and talk about Zelda, and share our passion for it and our love for Hyrule. And I know that that's a big part of what's helped this channel grow. I can say it's about other things, and it is. And there's other reasons that videos might do better or worse on my channel, depending on how I present the progress, depending on how I present the project, depending on what I'm working on, what I'm focusing on, how I'm working. All of those things have an effect on, I think, viewer engagement and interest. But I think it is ultimately we all share a passion for Zelda. And not to take myself out of that, this is my channel and this is my art project, and I'm bringing my perspective to that, and I think that adds value. But I also I feel aware that y'all are here because we all share this love for this franchise, and I think that's a big part of it as well. There's so much that goes into this channel, but it is a place where we can all share our passion together. And I've been so excited to share my passion with y'all, and it means so much that I used to work on this project by myself. I wasn't sure how to share it. I wasn't sure if I posted on the internet, I thought people would be into it, but I'm not sure people would find it. It's an idea that I thought was exciting for a Zelda fan, but it's well, is the audience even going to be there? And I feel so lucky that people have found it, pretty much accidentally. I just post on YouTube, and the algorithm has done so much of the legwork for spreading the video around and recommending it to people. And so I really appreciate YouTube for doing that. I can see the impression number, right? How many times your video is recommended to people. Of course, I see the view count, but I also see how many times it could have been viewed. And YouTube really is going out of its way to, promote these videos, to get them, in front of other Zelda fans. And I really appreciate that. And I feel very lucky that the channel's grown so much, and I feel very lucky to have all of you watching. So just in case I ever sound ungrateful for anything ever, just let me reiterate that. Thank you for being along for the ride. Thank you for sharing your passion with me and being interested in this project. And, like we have a long way to go. This project isn't over, and there's a lot left to work on this project. So there's a lot more of that left to hear. But, anyway, I'm thankful, and I want y'all to hear how thankful I am for y'all watching. And don't be afraid to subscribe if you're not subscribed. And don't be afraid to subscribe to my other channels. Go to my main channel. I'm sure there's a link in the description below where I post all my filmmaking stuff. I'm a short filmmaker. Well, I'm a short guy, but I make short films. That's what I mean. I have a main channel where I do all kinds of independent filmmaking and all kinds of stuff with 3D modeling and CGI and 3D animation. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, like this channel presents, but I also do a lot of live action stuff. And, a lot of different kinds of dramas, but also fantasy stuff. And, there's all kinds of movies. And I'm interested in so many types of films and telling stories. And, that's what guides this project. Ultimately, Wind Waker Unflooded is a storytelling project for me. Even if it's just a model, right? Like, I could do short films with it after I've done the model. Like, that's something I'm interested in doing, some kind of like cutscene style animated pieces. But even if it's just a model, like, it is a piece of storytelling. Because through the model, through the world itself, you can see all these narratives. You can see Hyrule as it's about to be taken over by Ganon. As it's prospered, this prosperous land that has grown so much, you can see its hubris. You can see it trying to, harness the natural world through this oil reserve, right? You can see it harnessing power like that. But you can also see this conflict. You can see this border with the Gerudo. You can see this separation, this geographic separation, but also this cultural separation that maybe in the wake of Ocarina of Time, that these cultures have never really repaired their allegiances. There's all these different things that are part of the world that are part of the story that can be seen just through the world. And I think that's fascinating. I think that's a fascinating way to tell stories. And I think thinking about that has really helped me as a filmmaker think about visual storytelling and environmental storytelling and things where you don't have to just cram a bunch of dialogue down the audience's throat. You can show them things and they'll pick up on those stories. Because I think that's something I had to work on as a writer for a long time. And I think I still want to be that guy that, just like tells the audience things and has a bunch of exposition and a piece of dialogue. And so I think that this project has been a huge help as a filmmaker and just thinking about storytelling and just like how to communicate things visually through the world design itself. And I've been so excited to learn things from this project and just like being, having a reason to study the original Wind Waker game and its models and its world design. It's been a really fun challenge and it's taught me so much. And I still have so much learning to do as a 3D modeler. But really I approach this as a storyteller first. But anyway, I think this is about all the time we have for today. We've covered a lot of ground in this video. I hope I haven't repeated myself too much. I feel like I always tell you how thankful I am that you're watching, but I mean it. And I want you to know, I want you to hear that in case you haven't heard it before. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Without further ado, I'll let you go.